Peace and blessings, family. Welcome back to another edition of Church After Hours. This is your man Diallo. My man Barry Bonds is here with me tonight. Our brother Kurt took this episode off. You'll see him back next week. Listen, man, before we get into tonight's topic, Bonds, what's been going on in your world, man? What's the word?
Man, everything is going on right now. I tell you, there's a lot going on in America right now. You got the migrants going crazy up in New York, beating up police. You got Joe Biden, can't string a sentence along. You got people wilding out in these stores, going in there just stealing like it's no tomorrow. You also got people wilding out in Dallas on food trucks, now wanting to share money with people after Keith Lee done blessed them. You got Fannie Willis down in Atlanta acting a plum fool, risking it all for some peen. And then you got Tiffany Henyard out in Dalton in Chicago giving away $1 million of money that ain't hers. So now, you choose.
Now, hopefully y'all peep what this man just did. I asked him how was things in his world. He gave me like the top things going on in America. So y'all know what type of episode this is about to be with your man Barry Bonds. He is back in rare form. And tonight
that's my world. It's my world. So that's what's going on.
Yeah, I meant in your personal space. But tonight we're going to have a serious conversation. We're going to talk about the state of Black America and the state of what it looks like for our people in 2024. We're only in the second month of the year. And we actually really started doing this episode last week when we finished the previous episode with our brother Kurt talking about Black music and how the music affects our children. So hopefully y'all had a chance to check out that last episode. Go run it up, send it and share it with friends and family, like, comment, and subscribe. So Bonds, man, first question, since we're gonna, like I said, stay on topic and talk about the state of Black America, man. From your vantage point, from your lens, what does it look like for Black America in 2024, man?
And I'll be honest with you, Black America is looking real. It's let me say this. I want to say Black America is looking bad. Just, first and foremost, I want to say that just to start off with. But when I truly think about it, there's a lot of people that's doing some really positive things. So I can't really say that it's all bad. In the middle. Right. Kind of in the middle. One way I see it is I see, these out here doing all the ungodly, and then I see Black folks out here, doing, God's work. So
right.
I'm in the middle. I'm definitely in the middle right now.
Well, anybody that knows me will tell you I'm the ultimate optimist, right? I'm optimistic in a lot of moments when the average person will be pessimistic. I'm overly optimistic, and I'm gonna have to side with you tonight, which could be surprising to most people. I think our community, our people, we could be doing a lot better. We could be a lot further along in life and doing things at a better pace than what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? And it's no fault of no one but our own. It's 2024. The blame game has to stop. You know what I'm saying? We can't blame the man. We know systemic racism still exists. I don't want people to think that I'm that naive, but we know those things exist. We know those things are there. And one thing that you and I spoke with Kurt about last week, it all comes back to being properly educated and actually putting yourself in a position to learn, and when you learn right knowledge, to start applying that right knowledge to your life to help give you the results that you want. So we're in a bad condition, we're in a bad shape, but I don't want to be overly negative and just focus on some of the bad positions that we're in. I want to talk about some of the good things, and we'll do that tonight as well. But I feel like it's a lot of room for growth and upward, moving. We just have to do better. And that's why I always talk about, I've said on this podcast in the past, that's one of the main reasons, I decided to go back and try and start working with youth to try to change some of this stuff, man, because we can sit and talk about everything that's wrong, but until we get our hands dirty and get in the fight and try to help change some of these things, then we just, we just talking, you know what I'm saying? Who wants to be a talking head their whole life? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But, I will say this, is that a lot of people, and I've said this since back in the day, a lot of people say, oh, well, you can't judge me. You can't judge me. No, judging is good. Judging is really good. Because if you saw a snake that was sitting there on the floor and whatnot, slithering, coming towards you, I hope you would judge if you would move towards it or if you would run for your life. You know what I'm saying? I hope that you would judge the type of people that, you know, your kids are hanging around, that your kids are being influenced by. I hope that you would judge the type of people that you share time with. You know what I'm saying? Judging is really good, but people, those who really aren't doing right, living, you know, those righteous lives, they'll tell you all day, oh, you can't judge me. You can't judge me. Yeah, because I don't want you to judge the bull that I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So there's another contradiction of Black people that we have to get to, you know, and it's crazy because I feel like I've traveled this journey of, and you've seen it, you know, 5, 6 years, let's just say 7 years ago. When was the Million Man March? Like
95.
No,
No, 96.
No, the second one.
Oh, the second one. Me, you, and the boys went.
Yeah.
So it was the 20th or the 25th anniversary? It had to be
25th anniversary in 2015. It was in 2015.
No, that was the 20-year anniversary. So it was it was 2015.
Yeah, 2015. So let's just take it back to 2015. That was what? Like
9 years ago. 9.
Yeah, 9 years ago. Yeah. So 9 years ago, you know, I look at my life back then and what I was doing. And it seems like everybody goes into this journey, you know, especially of pro-Blackness. You go into a journey where you start learning about yourself, you start learning about your people, you start learning about our plight. But then the pride that, you know, of what you're learning is so deep and so electric that you don't see all the BS. You don't see, you know, how we are our own worst enemy. You know what I'm saying? So I traveled from being that pro-Black, speaking out, going on Facebook, you know, these rallying, you know, messages talking about, you know, we need to do better for our people, this, and that, the other. And, you know, you out there, you cats out there who not trying to, y'all some coons, this and that, the other, calling people coons and sambos and all this stuff.
Right.
And then going into journeying into the Nation of Islam. You know, reading, you know, Eat to Live, you know what I'm saying? You're reading all the books.
Message to the Black Man.
Message to the Black Man, reading all the books and educating myself, even going through the FOI classes, you know, up in Harlem. And you know,
was you at Mosque number 7, right?
Yeah, I was at Mosque 7, and then I was at 7C in Brooklyn.
Right.
So even going through that, and then my journey led me on to, you know, have an awakening, you know, in like 2017, 18, having an awakening and starting to see that, you know, a lot of the issues that we have, we put them on ourselves. We put them on ourselves by our thinking, by our actions, and our decision making, you know, and our influences that we choose to be around. We choose.
And living in our emotions too much. Don't forget.
And living in our emotions. And let
me pause you right quick because we go get back to that because I love the direction this conversation is starting to take. And you said something, and anybody that knows me again can tell you, I call it the origins of consciousness, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like when you start learning this information, you're reading the books, you watching the DVDs and the lectures, you know what I'm saying? And you have this awakening. And the first thing anybody wants to do that you know is righteous, in my opinion, you want to share that information and pass it on, right? You want to give that information to people. And that's why that's the only reason I'm on Facebook to this day is just to go back, and I like looking at my memories every day because it just makes me laugh because I see how much I've evolved from the angry, super militant, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it was all done in good spirit of just trying to awaken and help move my people forward. But you have that awakening where you just trying to, you know, get your people on track. And then, like you said, you start to mellow out a little bit. And now it's like, at the end of the day, like I started off saying, we know it's systemic racism, but a lot of these things we've done to ourselves, and we have to be men and women enough to admit that and to say, you know what? We know that we was dealt a bad hand, but a lot of the turmoil and a lot of the, you know, the hiccups in life, we've caused ourselves, and we have to be men and women enough to admit that. You know what I'm saying? So I love the fact how you broke down the origins of consciousness, how you came through the different schools of knowledge, and talk about where you at right now. You know, because I know you had spoke about in season 1 how you joined the nation and then you transition out of the nation. But talk about how you made that next step to where you are now.
Well, I mean, it was me being so open-minded that I had to look at everything, with a clear lens. I couldn't be tainted. I didn't want to, stop to hamper my growth
Mm,
by just being so biased just because of tribalism, just because, well, I'm black and, if it ain't black, it ain't right. And, I didn't want to be like that. I didn't want to be like that. I started to side with the truth, you know.
mm,
And it was around that time, I would say 2018, where it was just like, you know what? I just want to know what the truth is. That's it.
right.
I don't care about, all of the agendas and the narratives that, people are trying to push. I just want to know what is the truth. At the end of the day, I would rather be on the side of the truth than not on the side of the truth. Just, following a hard lie and living and dying with a hard lie. I didn't want to do that. So I started, reading books, and I started, just doing research on everything, even the Bible, even Islam,
Mm-hmm.
even the Nation of Islam, everything. I would just, in my little cubby hole, just sit down, read, or do research. Loads of documentaries. I was just on learning, that's all it was. It was just on a endless learning session just to try to find out what the truth was.
Right.
And going into that, I started seeing a lot of stuff for, a lot of things for what it was. I started seeing a lot of contradictions. I started seeing a lot of lies. I started seeing and noticing a lot of narratives being pushed.
Mm,
And then I got this job in the media.
mm,
I got this job working at New York One News. Previous to that, I was working at the Source magazine. Shout out to Londell. And Londell taught me and showed me a lot about, how this world was working. I mean, we took, trips down to Washington, D.C., where he spoke in front of Congress about why, uh, Black businesses, Black media companies weren't getting some of the advertising dollars, even though,
mm.
a lot of our content is being pushed
And
and
and we
monetized
the
on.
biggest consumers. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And being monetized on. It's like, how are we getting that money? So I
Right.
started seeing those narratives. Everything just started lining up. I started seeing those narratives being pushed behind the scenes. But when I got that job in New York One News, dude, I started seeing it for real. I started seeing how they push narratives, create them, get the newscasters and the to deliver it. And it just opened my eyes up to a whole new world. And I was like, wow, it's a lot of fugaziness that's going on right now,
Mm,
and I started looking at everybody with that eye, like, okay, what's this? Are you just trying to push a narrative, push an agenda? And I started uncovering a lot that allowed me to finally open up my eyes to see that, you know, being a conservative and, adopting and being proud of adopting conservative ways, a way of life, was naturally what black folks are attracted to.
mm-hmm.
So we're talking about in the time of, Trump, and it being the worst thing in the world to be a Trump supporter. I'm not gonna lie to you. I looked at Trump and it was just with everything in me. I hated him and I didn't even know why I was hating him. And then I started thinking, I started reading, I started understanding, start seeing some of the things he was doing. I started looking at some of the things that the Republican, party, were the narratives, the agendas that they were pushing. And I
Right.
said, so all of this just accommodated in just me opening my mind and not just discounting, certain things that someone that was different, had a different, tune in life than me, presented to me. I was just open to hear it. I was open to understand, or at least try to understand. And
Right.
I
Right.
think that right there is what, people need to do. Don't run away from things because you get scared of it and don't understand it. Run towards it to try to understand it,
Right.
to try
Let's
to, learn more about it.
let's pause right there because I want to pick back up right there where you was at, but I want to get this thought out. When you talk about having or adopting a conservative mind state, and Black people naturally having more of an affinity for conservative thoughts and conservative ideas, I want to go and have a little history lesson real quick. I want you to talk about, if you study American history, you'll find that we were more conservative, and then we, or should I say, right leaning, and then we kind of made a pivot and started becoming more left leaning and more liberal, and adopting the democratic, thoughts and values. And we all know that the Dixiecrats, was the ones that was burning crosses and what I'm saying, causing all type of mayhem to our people.
Exactly.
Talk about the transition, because again, this conversation is centered around us as people, of Black people, indigenous people, and dark people of a darker hue in this country. Talk about what that pivot looks like and why we, kind of left those conservative ideas and positions that we was taking at one point in time in this country.
Well, I mean, like you said, back in the 1800s, the Republican Party was the party that was pushing, for abolition. The Republican Party all the way, was, pushing for Black folks to have their rights, to be free. And the Democratic Party, which was largely, coming from the South,
Right.
they, were against that, heavily against that. And I would say, up until John F. Kennedy is when Black folks started voting Democrat. That right there. And you can kind of tell because a lot of older Black folks in their homes had the three pictures: Jesus Christ, John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King,
Yeah.
and sometimes Robert F. Kennedy.
Right.
Sometimes
That's
Robert.
That's a fact.
Yeah. So that started then, and then once he got killed, then Lyndon B. Johnson, he passed the Voters' Right Act and the Civil Right, the act, and created the what was it called? It was the oh man, I swear, always when I get on put on the spot, it was the act that the Welfare Act. It was the Great Society, I believe, the Great Society, which he pushed. That was pretty much turned into welfare. It was the welfare, and from there, I mean, he knew as soon as he created that plan, as soon as he created that bill, he said, "You know what? I'm going to have these N words voting for me for the next 200 years." And that's exactly what happened. But let's think about it. Let's take it back. Let's rewind the tape. Is that back in the 1800s? Think about it. It was just a way of life for us to marry, to have fully intact households.
Absolutely.
All the way up until the 60s. All the way up until the 60s. Late 50s, early 60s. We were still at 80%. And then after that, after 68 and on into the 70s and 80s, now you started to see it decline. You start seeing it decline a lot. So, we've always had very conservative, ways of life, because we held closely to that Bible, the Christian belief, reading the word, trying to live by the word. The Bible's a very, and some would say, the conservative, way of life. It's a conservative book. And we try to live close as possible to, those ways of the Bible. And, just having, a man and a wife, having a fully intact household, that was just what we did. But, after we started being introduced to all of these other ills, like feminism, I mean, it just tore us apart, and then when that Great Society came through, and now if you wanted to get those welfare checks, this is pretty much, what tore up the Black family. And I know that, people who are watching this probably seen and heard this before, probably seen the movie Claudine. If you haven't, go check it out.
Yeah, the great James Earl Jones and the great, what's my sister name?
Diana Carroll.
Diana Carroll. God rest her dead. Classic. Classic movie.
But these are things right here to show you step by step and how, we return from the conservative ways into, more liberal ways because, we wanted to be free. We wanted to, have our newfound freedom. We wanted to, to integrate in every facet of society,
Right.
even the ills of society. We wanted to be right there with everyone, partaking. So,
Right. And let me say this: I don't want to abandon the political talk just this second, but I want to move forward a little bit and talk about a gentleman who I hold in high regard and who's near and dear to my heart. He's an elder that's still with us, and that's the brother Claude Anderson. We got hip to
yeah,
Claude Anderson because Claude Anderson worked in the cabinet of our president from Georgia. What's my man's name? Jimmy
Carter,
Carter. He was
Jimmy
in Jimmy.
Carter.
He was in
Yeah,
Jimmy Carter's cabinet.
right.
And we know Claude Anderson for writing classic books. Black Labor, White Wealth, Group
Hmm.
Economics. When you look at a cat like Claude Anderson and how you know you never really hear Claude Anderson talking about the systemic racism because we know it's there. But when you look
Yeah,
at other ethnic groups come over to this country, we've been here from the origins of this country. You know what I'm saying? Because let's be clear, some of us made a trip over here on the boat, and the other of us was already here. Like that's a
yeah,
fact. We can have that
yeah,
discussion at another time. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Another book by Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, They Came Before Columbus, talks about that. But the reason I want
yeah,
to focus on Claude Anderson right now because Claude Anderson talks about you look at some of the most powerful groups in this country, a lot of the Asian cats, they don't vote. You know what I'm saying? They don't even participate in the election in the elections that happen every 2 years, every 4 years, however often these elections occur. But yet
right.
they've started not only started, but they've already been practicing what we would call group economics to where they don't really need to play the political game to gain what they need. Why do you think that our people still are fooled by either the Democrats or the Republicans? Because I'll be honest and say that I don't rock with either party. When I go
Hmm.
and vote, I go and vote my interest. And whether it's a Democrat or Republican, I mess with the Green Party sometimes. People say I'm crazy, I'm throwing away my vote. But I vote to what is my interest and what I feel like is going to benefit me. I don't have an allegiance to either party. But why do you think that cats like the Asians can come here and not even participate, and then black people will tell you that you disrespecting your ancestors if you don't vote. You disrespecting your ancestors for fighting for the right to vote. And I tell people all the time, they fought for us to have the right, not to actually vote. And if a person doesn't want to vote, that's their right. I go and exercise my
Yeah.
right, but I'm not going to look down on somebody else for not exercising their right to vote. But let's talk about how other groups like Asians and others don't really subscribe to voting like that, and they seem to find themselves doing pretty well.
Well, I mean, they follow directions. They listen to, what's given. The information is given, and then they keep it in their mental bank. And they have common sense, and they're not being led with emotions. The emotions of it all. Think about it. Ever since the civil rights movement, we've been led with emotions when dealing with politics because it was so tied into what we considered our freedom. Now, if you look back. Dr. Martin Luther King, he was, riding heavily with Kennedy, trying to get these laws passed, trying to get us
Right,
the right to vote, the right for integration, for schools, everything,
right,
So it was whatever side or side King was, whatever side he was negotiating with, friendly with, or whoever was hearing our plight or helping our plight, that's what we will go with. But when you're talking about some of these other groups, when they hear that we can't elect a president because the electoral college is electing the president, we've been told
mm,
this since grade school. And it
hmm
just seems that none of us are really thinking or listening, in about this. We're still thinking that we are electing these people, and we're not, you know. The ones that we should be paying attention to are city council, city managers,
Our
more of the
local
local
sheriffs, the
e-
judges,
elects.
county
Exactly.
commissioners, and all those type of
Exactly.
positions.
Representatives, congressmen,
Right,
senators, that's who we should be focusing on. they know this. They know this, and they know if they want to get something done that's going to affect them directly, they need to go to these people instead of
Hmm.
trying to worry about, who's going to be in the White House. You know what I'm saying? That's the pomp and circumstance of it all. So they're smarter to be able to understand that, and that's what concerns them the most. Us, we're more concerned with the big shebang, the oh, a black president, and oh my god, if we have so and so in, they gonna take it back and reverse the time back to slavery and put us back in slavery.
Right, right, right.
Not gonna
And
happen. Not gonna happen.
as preposterous as that sounds, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're not wrong, because we hear that all the time. The fear mongering is out of control. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, that's the number one commodity that there is right now, and people don't understand it and don't want to admit it. Is that it's the fear, it's the victimization. Being a victim pays more than not being a victim. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Think about how we are so tied into and so closed off, closed minded when it comes to hearing and trying to work with other parties that may have our better interest or may offer us a better deal. We
yeah.
don't want to hear them. You know why? Because we always hear about this victimization being from these race hustling pimps like your Al Sharptons, you know what I'm saying? Your Joy Reeds. I would say your Don Lemons, but he's not on there anymore. Who else? You know what I'm saying? Some of the ladies on The View, they come up with these sound bites. They hear one part of a sound bite or a speech or a recording, and they go with that and they choose to use the fear. And this is something that I saw over at New York One News, because during the time I was there, I was working on the Kathy Hochul. There were a lot of people trying to run for governor of New York, and Kathy Hochul was one of them. But I watched as those who were in politics were creating these narratives, and then they would push it in the forms of advertising to push their agenda. So
Wow.
I would hear them take sound bites, and it would just be something, just a sound bite, 5 second
Hmm.
sound bite, maybe not even that, and they would just focus on that one line or that one word and throw it out there just to create fear, just to
Mm,
create a victim mind state for whoever would listen to that, to think, oh, I'm oppressed. Oh, I'm being oppressed and I can't do this. And all of these things are just, lined up against me. Think about when
yeah.
we were younger, all of these things we would hear. We would hear our teachers or whatever leader or youth leader or whatever, they say, well, you're black. So remember, you got to be 3 times as good as such and such and such and such.
Hmm.
And that's just, it was just BS. It was BS. Because think about it now that we're grown adults and we've been in corporate or we worked in corporate, that 9 times out of 10, it's really not about what you know, it's about who you know and who
Right.
you're tied to.
Right.
I've gotten a
But
lot of
let me
jobs.
give you, let me, not to cut your knowledge, but let me give you a little pushback there, right? Because I'm
Uh-huh,
the optimistic guy of the crew. I'm gonna
uh-huh.
give pushback simply. Anybody know me? I stay on the baby boomers' heads, like me and the baby boomers butt heads, because they get on my nerves a lot of times, because I feel like they the go along and get along crew. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah, they comfortable.
they talked about us like crazy. Generation X is out of control. Generation X is this, that, and the third. But I'll give you pushback only in the regard of, a lot of times they were only repeating what they heard the traditional generation say to them. You know, you got to be 3 times smarter, 3 times work, 3 times harder. A lot of that stuff, they was just regurgitating what their parents and grandparents told them, because they came out of Jim Crow, or their great
Yeah,
grandparents came out
yeah,
of slavery. You know what I'm saying? So I give
yeah.
them a break in that. However, I give us, I put it on our shoulders to not continue to give those messages to our children, because one thing you just said, and we can transition there, a lot of times it's not even about what you know, but who you know. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people
Yeah,
find themselves in situations that they wouldn't normally be in if they didn't know somebody already there that was able to help bring them in. You know what I'm saying? Now, and I'm
that
not
is a
saying that,
fact.
and I'm not saying that you still should work hard. Absolutely. Young people, we're gonna talk about children later in this discussion, as it pertains to education, but you still should be working hard. You still, whether corporate, whether you, especially if you're working for yourself. So we're not saying you shouldn't work hard, but Pastor Pipers used to say something that always stuck out with me. We have to get rid of that stinking thinking. And a lot of those
Yeah,
things, a lot of those things that was passed down to us out of ignorance. So I don't want to hold the elders, and some of them are now ancestors. I don't want to hold their feet to the fire, because at the end of the day, they thought they was doing us good. Even when you look at corporal punishment, like people would laugh at me and say, "Man, you don't whoop your children. What's wrong with you?" You know, I look at that as a slave mentality. You know what I'm saying? Like we're articulate enough, we're able to communicate with each other and say, you know what, why you did this and why I was wrong and why you shouldn't exude that behavior in the future. We can have a conversation without necessarily putting our hands on our children in that way. You know what I'm saying? Because if you look at slavery, it was clear. The mama would grab the whip and whoop the child because she would want to let master know that, you know, I'm gonna have this under control. So that clearly comes from out of that. I hate to go on that tangent, but I just had to speak on that, because at the end of the day, we pass down trauma to our children, and we pass down stinking thinking to our children as well. And we have done, I think, a better job of not, you know, passing some of those things down. And I don't want any of the baby boomers, our parents and aunts and uncles, to feel like, you know, we dissing y'all, but we just want to say that you guys always told us to be better than us. So it's our job to do better once we learn better.
Well, I mean, let's think about this too, is that, you know, back in the day, there were some benefits that they received, you know, whether they were in the military or they were working, and, you know, there was a lot of wealth that was just pretty much thrown away, you know, that they could have left, imparted with us, you
Mm-hmm.
know. I don't know. I mean, I just think that they did a horrible job in passing the baton to us. So that's why I give them a lot of flack, because, you know, all of the scaremongering and, you know, just, oh, I mean, we could have did without it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, like even back then when I was coming out of high school, you know, I thought, oh, maybe I should probably go to the military just to be able to, you know, kind of get a head start, you know. Not a bad idea. Could have worked out. Could have worked out. But you know what I was told was, oh no, no place for a black man in the military. You know, shouldn't go there. Shouldn't do that. My thing is this. Now I'm looking back on it, would have been a great idea, because now let's think about it. You know, not a lot of wars. You know, most people don't even see any type of combat.
I disagree with you right there. This is where we can have a good debate and a good dialogue.
Let's call Uncle Gary then, because not a
Hey,
lot of wars, not a lot of wars, and it will set you up
let's not
financially.
say it's not a lot of
Plus,
wars. It's not a lot of boots to the ground type wars. Like, let's be clear.
yeah,
I gave
yeah,
Obama the business when he was in office. The man was drone attacking 5 countries at one time. So America is always at some type of war. It might not be a boots on the ground type war, but it's
yeah,
always something going on and jumping off. But I'll let you finish and then I'll interject, because I'm one of those people that has the thought that, you know, my uncles fought in all of America's wars, whether it's my dad's side of the family, my mom's side of the family. Like, we fought in all their wars.
yeah,
I feel like we fought enough to where we don't have to fight no more. I feel like we don't have no place to be in there. Again, the benefits are great, but you know what I'm saying? You become property of the United States government. Let's be clear. We had conversations, you know, a couple years ago when a lot of stuff was going on, and we understand when you do property of the United States government, you got to do certain things that you might not want to do. So you can do that, and I'm not dissing nobody that chooses that path, but just understand there's some things you're going to have to do that you might not necessarily agree with. And my only thing was, how can I be as a black and brown, a melanated man, and then I'm using the power that America gives me to go and do to other black and brown people around the world what America has done to us. That's always been my biggest issue. Because let's be clear, America is the FBI, is the police of the world. We want to police everything. So and that was the biggest thing when you would hear brothers from Vietnam. The Vietnamese was like, man, y'all coming over here oppressing us, and that's what they doing to your people right now. You know, you can't even get a job when you go back home. You know what I'm saying? So why would you
yeah,
bring that over here to us? So that's always been my stance. I respect anybody that wanted to make that decision. That just wasn't for me. And I
yeah,
told my sons that's not an option. You know what I'm saying? You know,
yeah.
I like for
I
them to
mean,
make their
different
own
time and
decisions.
place.
Yeah.
different time and place. Because I mean, I know both my parents were in there in the military,
Yes,
and
they were.
one,
And shout out
you
to them for
know,
their service for sure.
yeah, and one helped, us to be able to build a house,
Yes.
GI Bill from the ground
Yes.
up.
Yeah.
Pop still even has his, to be able to use. And that may even help, in something in the future for me to be
Right.
able to,
Right.
use that to be able to. But I say that to say that there was a there was a there was a discipline. There was a discipline, and I felt like it put a lot of people on the right track who probably would have
Yes,
fell
I
off the
agree.
track and probably ended in somebody's prison, to be able to get their life together, to be able to travel the world, see places, travel places they probably would have never traveled to in life, and be able to get their lives, structured. Some
Mhm.
people need that structure. So
I
that's
agree.
why I say that it was a good idea, and maybe it would have probably worked for me.
Right.
I'm glad I chose what I chose, but had I did, choose to go to the army, I felt like my life would probably be, less complicated, and in a, I don't know, maybe a better financial. I don't know. I don't know. I really can't say, but I say that because too many times we allow the victim talk, the victim Olympics
I
that our
agree.
people seem to push,
I call
keep
it
us from.
the oppression Olympics. Like
Yeah,
and again,
yeah,
we know we've been oppressed. We know we number one, but we don't have to live
yeah.
in that constant state or that constant
But
reminder.
man, let's keep it 100. Okay, they had slavery back in the Arab days. They had slavery back in the
Well,
ancient African days.
Arabs. I would say the Arab slavery was neck and neck with the chattel slavery of America. Like they was bad. They was just as bad, if not badder. You know what I'm saying? So let's be
Mhm.
clear. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So everybody had a chance to enslave somebody, because there was
Hmm.
some black, black folks. We over in Africa, our ancestors had chances to enslave other people as well. I mean, we ran Europe for what, 600, 800 years, you know. So we had our time to kick some airs, But right now, it just came back on us. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Every dog has its day. So we got to look at that. If we start looking at things for what they are, what I'm saying, rationally, logically, I think that we'll be a lot better as a people. I think that other groups come to America, they do better because they don't have that whole, that whole stigma of slavery, what I'm saying, on them. Think about the Nigerians that come over here. They do, exceedingly great things. The West Africans, the East Africans, they come over here and they flourish because they don't have that victim mind state when they come over. Like, well, you're from Africa, and you can't do this, and they can't do that, and so and so. No, they get over here and they get in where they fit in, and they work their tails off, and they do whatever it is that they have to do to make it for their
Right.
people. Just like Dame said, they hustle for their last name. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And that's what they do. And we can't hate on that,
No, we can't.
but
We can't.
yeah, yeah. I'm just tired of seeing us always singing that sad song, because
Hmm.
let's be honest. I mean, and here's another contradiction, is that everybody's so high off of manifesting. So if you're manifesting or saying, which is the same as manifesting, if you can say money comes to me easily, money comes to me frequently, and want to manifest that, then why are you saying to yourself that, well, they don't like us, and we can't no black person get to these heights because we black, and
Right. Right.
it's racism, and they just gonna keep us out. Why are you manifesting that?
Right. That's
You know
that
what I'm
stinking
saying? Why
thinking
are
though.
you
That's
saying
that
that? Why
stinking
are you
thinking.
putting that into the air?
That's that
But I
stinking
see a
thinking.
lot of, yeah, but I see a lot of our people doing that, even in these churches, even in these
Hmm.
churches,
Hmm.
talking about racism, talking about all that stuff. Sometimes I don't even think a lot of this stuff is even racism. Sometimes I just think it's they just don't like you. Sometimes you
Yeah.
can just be a person that's not liked. That no one likes your energy. You come around, you have bad energy. They just don't want you around. You know. And here's another thing that I want to add too, is that white folks aren't thinking about us like that. They aren't. White folks, we really aren't
Uh
on the minds. Why I'm trying, we are not on their minds. They are thinking about whole other things. Now, when it comes to just some world events, like I see in the comments sometimes when they are like Fox News is posting, some of these people going into these stores and robbing them and whatnot. Then I see that. I'll see those comments. Oh yeah, it's the usual suspects. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Can't even blame them. Can't even
I,
blame them.
I agree with you and I disagree with you. I agree that I don't think they thinking about us as much as we may lead to believe that they think about us, but
Yeah.
we are on their mind in a lot of ways that we might not even understand because you have to think about it. We started this conversation talking about consumerism and how you worked in the media in New York and how a lot of the media is aimed at our people because you know what I'm saying? We are the biggest consumers. So when they're in these board meetings and they're coming up with these campaigns, we are on their minds. How can we continue to make them spend this money? And that's where we have to be like Claude Anderson and say, you know what? It don't matter how much money they spend on these, commercials and these advertisements to try to get us to spend our money on whatever product they're trying to push in front of us. We have to be good stewards over the finances that we have and direct our money to each other for each other. So I agree with you on one part of it, but I do think they do have us on their minds in a lot of ways, and that's just to continue to rape our culture and to take the things from us that we might not even understand how valuable it might be. Our dollar is powerful, brother. Our dollar is
Okay.
powerful. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So it's always a concerted effort to keep their hands in our pocket. You know what I'm saying? You have a lot of financial experts saying pay yourself first.
Yeah.
We pay white folks first, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Because they're producers. They are producers. They produce goods and services. We, they create, what is it? They're manufacturers as well. They create, what I'm
Yeah,
saying? They have goods and services and everything that they pretty much have, built up and created for us to purchase.
right.
Think about it. A lot of us are just consumers. You know what I'm saying? That's all we are just consumers. And even if, you look at some of the major businesses or just predominant businesses in the black community, it's what? It's what? Food, cosmetics,
Yeah, hair
hair,
salon,
yeah,
barbershop,
barbershops, you know what I'm saying? Little
soul food
restaurants,
spots.
soul food restaurants, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's like the main thing that we have.
Yeah.
Let's think about it. You'd be few and far between for us to be able to find somebody that makes potato chips, to
Hmm.
sell inside the store. I'm pretty sure there are, but
Right, right,
few and
right,
far between.
right.
So we, and let's be honest here, is that can you blame them? When they see something that we do that they know they can monetize and they got the money to be able to do it and they do it and we give it up and we sell our rights, we sell our IPs. Can you blame them? Because in this capitalist society, that's what it's all about.
It is.
Now, if we start banding together and working together and actually saying, hey, we're going to work together and we're going to put ego aside, then maybe we'll probably be able to build our own structures. Let's think about hip hop. Everybody in hip hop, is doing their things. What distribution service have they created to help out
Well,
other artists
well,
coming up?
well, and this is another way why I say I disagree with you when you say they're not thinking about us. And I'm glad you went to hip hop and you even brought up distribution. You read my mind. When you look at what Irv Gotti, Suge Knight, James Prince, what they were in Suge Knight, and what all those gentlemen were attempting to do with trying to create a black distribution hub so black artists can have their music distributed, especially back in the day when everything was, tapes and CDs. All of these brothers caught cases. So, especially young me in my mid 20s, when I was heavy into my conspiracies, to me that smells a little fishy. All these black men catch federal cases, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
when they're just coming
yeah,
together to try to start distribution for us, by us, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
when we say that they don't have us on their mind, that's why I give pushback, because we can look to those types of things and say, you know what, it could have been a coincidence, but if
yeah,
if it quacked like a duck, if it walked like a duck, then damn it, it's a duck. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I get that. Irv Gotti's or Chris
And I
Gotti,
and
good
I know
friend of
Chris
mine.
is your man.
Yeah, Chris Gotti, good friend of mine. He's talked to me
Yeah,
about that case and whatnot, and told me about, how it went. I mean, $100 million just to get them out of it. a hundred
right.
mil just to
They
get
they
them
drained
out
they
of that.
drained him.
You know what I'm saying? So drained them. So, they went
So
through
we
something very
understand now
real.
why Irv Gotti ended up, selling his masters to get some of that money back.
But Chris even started up Adventures Music,
Mm,
which is a platform much like Ghazi and Dima have over at Empire,
Yeah.
and the fact that people aren't running in droves to get up with a proven music industry executive who's been wildly successful, you know,
Yeah.
because if you really know that the Murder Inc. story, you know, a lot of those artists came through Chris.
Yeah.
Chris found those artists.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Irv was the front man. He was the
yeah,
puffy. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
exactly,
For sure.
exactly.
For
So
sure.
if you know, and why droves aren't just running to Chris, which the subscription I believe is still probably at $400 for the year, but in that you get to use all of their resources, whether it's distribution, whether it's reaching out to their media, whether it's promotions on radio, whether it's promotions, street team promotions, whether it's concerts, booking, all of that, everything that you could want, everything that you need as an artist. And I'm just surprised that more artists aren't moving towards him to say, hey, you know what, let me spend my money with you, you know what I'm saying? Instead of taking it over here to these other guys at Empire or going to Lior or going to, Moskowitz and some of these other guys in these
Yeah.
major labels.
That's a
You know what I'm
fact.
saying? That's our fault. That's our
Right.
fault. So we
Right.
can't blame nobody because it seems like, and I talked to Charlemagne about this, a lot of times, and he will always say, man, I said, bro, why is it like this? He said, look, white ice is colder. White ice is more sweet. It's better to eat. You know what I'm saying? That's how we think as a people. We've been conditioned to think that way. But then we always had this sad song like, man, we don't have this and then we don't have that. And then they taking this and they appropriating that and this and that. No, we can't stick together for 10 minutes to create something substantial that will benefit and enrich our people in the future because
Right.
we got way too much ego, way too
Right.
much ego. You know what I'm
And-
saying? So how can we blame them for taking our ideas, for taking our IPs and being able to monetize it, giving us a little bit of money off of what they making, giving us 40,000 while they make 40 million off of it?
That's how it
How
goes.
can we get mad? How can we get mad about that if we can't come together and say, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this. And
And let me say this, man, so we can get ready and wind down. We will go about another 10, 15. I want to transition and start talking about the youth and the children. And we started off talking about education. We said we would eventually get to this point. When we look at the state of young people in the state of young Black America, those pre-K through 12th grade, what are some of the things that we need to do to assure that we can start, knocking some of these walls down so our children's children won't be fighting some of these same battles and bumping their head up against the wall, trying to avoid some of these same things that we've been trying to avoid for so many years? Because again, we started Saturday schools. We're enriching youth. We're giving them knowledge and information. But I just feel like we're up against a big wall because we have 10, 15, 20, maybe even 30 students sometimes at our highest, but we still have a hard time convincing parents to take their children's education seriously. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So what are some of the things that you think that we can be doing to stem the tide and to get our youth on track to be able to move the needle?
I would say to move the needle, one, we need all ratchet people to stop procreating. All ratchets. Just stop procreating. Straight up. I'm sick of y'all. I don't even want to see y'all. I'm tired of y'all just, you're having babies like gremlins. Seriously, stop it. Stop having babies alone. Just please. But other things that we need to do is I feel like we need to stop paralyzing our kids with one, all of the racism talk. Stop paralyzing them. You know what I'm saying? We get paralyzed when it comes to racism. We could be moving, grooving, doing our thing and whatnot, but as soon as somebody say racism, they go, huh? And we just stop and we forget about everything that we're doing, and we stop our momentum from moving forward. Stop with the racism talk, okay? We understand that it's probably never going to go away. Never.
Mhm.
So there's nothing we can do about it. It's like cancer. Okay, it's something that people are making so much money off of that they never want it to go away. If
Right.
racism stopped tomorrow, what would Al Sharpton have to do? What would his
Not
job
the
be?
former FBI informant Al Sharpton.
Exactly. If racism stopped yesterday, there was no more racism. what would Van Jones' job be? If racism stopped yesterday, what would Joy Reid talk about on her TV show? If racism stopped yesterday, what would Tariq Nasheed have to talk about, and what would he be doing for a living? You know what I'm saying? It's always going to be around. People are making so much money off of it that there's no way for us to stop it. So let's just stop. It was already understood. Don't need to be explained. We don't need to make it any bigger than it already is. Stop paralyzing your kids with it. Number two, stop paralyzing them with the Victim Olympics. Don't stop inducting them into the Victim Olympics. Stop giving them these talks about, well, there's systematic racism and all this other stuff, and they don't want you there, and you got to understand. Quit doing it. Let these kids know that they can achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. Let them know that they need to build relationships with people from other cultures.
Right.
People from other cultures, like your son and Mital's son. That's a very unique relationship. You know what I'm saying? You don't really see many, somebody from India clicking up with somebody from, what is that? From West Africa. You know what I'm saying? America, and being tight, growing up like that, having a real strong organic relationship. If we stop doing that and we start preaching to our kids and feeding our kids the positivity that they can do anything that they put their minds to, that they can be great, and whatever happened in the past, we can overcome it. Trust me, along with making sure that they do get their homework together, making sure you stay on top of them on who their friends are, making sure that you, stay in their business, then I think that they will excel in whatever they want to do. But we got to start with those three building blocks to be able to eliminate those things, take those things off the table, and you create a lighter, more fluid child that can just fly and move and be able to, travel this world as if they live here instead of like they're just visiting.
Right. And I agree with everything you stated. And I think that we can walk and chew gum at the same time, right? Sometimes we paralyze and we cripple ourselves, not only with the talk and with the negative words, but sometimes we cripple ourselves before we even start talking, just with a lot of the thoughts that we think. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We have that victim mentality before you even open up a word and even start speaking. So you can teach your kids about systemic racism and white supremacy and all these type of things. However, you can't live there. And a lot of times we live there. That's our address. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I don't want people to think that we're saying that these things don't exist, because that's not what we're saying. If you listen to this conversation thus far,
I'm saying it don't.
No, they do.
I'm
exist.
saying it don't.
Systemic racism.
I'm saying it don't.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. We can debate that all day.
Yeah, we can debate that. I'm up for it.
They exist, but we can't live there, because you have to think about it. And I say this to the kids at the center all the time. Our ancestors had to go through so much more than what we had to go through, but they fought and they kept going, and they afforded us to be in the positions we are in today. They didn't sit down and have pity party for themselves. They just got up off their tail and got the work done. So what I'm saying is,
we talk about them,
right? And which is why I don't like talking about them in the negative way. Again, I extract the things that I think are positive, and I think one of the main things that are positive that our ancestors did was having a will and having that go-getter mentality. And we've lost that because a lot of times we've become complacent. You know what I'm saying? They
were smart.
They were very smart, but they were practical too. That's why when people say, "Oh, them people only had a 7th grade education," I'm thinking to myself, like, that might be true, but these people built and made things that we still haven't built and created today, and we have more degrees than we ever had in human history or modern history. Like what are we talking about? How important is that diploma you got on your wall if you can't even create a distribution company to make toilet paper, the things that Marcus Garvey was trying to do, or to have grocery stores in our own neighborhood? So that's the part, that annoys me when it comes to our people. Like, we talk about the ancestors, about, grandma stayed at home and she was a housewife and didn't do nothing. She wasn't no boss chick. No, she was taking care of her family and her children. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She was putting it down. She was taking care of other people's children who wasn't able to do so. If moms, had a baby out of wedlock and she moved to the big city. Like we took care of each other in a way that we don't now, and we have way less. So I
Yeah.
look at it from the standpoint of we're not being good stewards over the things that God has blessed us with, and we're not being smart about the things that are important. We have a bad job, or we do a bad job of prioritizing the things that are important. A lot of the things that we put at the top of the list are things we can go without. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whether it
Yeah.
be, a lot of this music, a lot, the
Fendi, Louis,
alcohol,
Gucci,
right? This fashion and all this stuff.
lashes.
Yeah, like all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Brothers with their tennis shoes and all this foolishness. And I'm not
Sneakers,
saying,
Timbs, and all that.
I'm not saying don't get fly, but it shouldn't consume you to where that's all you think about, that's all you talk about, and our children are suffering. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Shout out to the young
Yeah.
brother down in Georgia, man. What's the young brother's name? King Randall doing the work that he's doing on the ground. He's like, man, we ain't complaining. We ain't doing no crying. We getting our hands dirty. We taking these kids out here. We showing them what it's like to get to it and create generational wealth for themselves, create jobs for themselves. Like, you know what I mean? So that's the part of it that I love. And that's the type of stuff that we need to lean into. And when we get some extra bread, that's the type of stuff that we need to be investing in. You know what I'm saying? Or trying to create it in whatever city you live in.
Well, people get their taxes every year, and some people they got kids, they getting $10,000 and $15,000, and
that's the fact.
What do they do with it? What do they do? Why is it that we still in this situation? Why are we even talking about? Well, you know what? We don't have the things we need, and we underserved, and we ain't got no money, and we need Biden and them to do this and do that.
Shout out to my OG brother Ed. He always said around tax time, he said, brothers, go buy them a used car and they go buy some pit bulls. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying, man.
He used to always say that, but you are absolutely correct. We got to stop that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that all the issues that we have are all self-inflicted, and for real, we need to
not
look
all.
inside.
You can't speak in absolutes like that. It's not all, brother. It's not
all of them. All of the issues.
It's not all.
You hear me first say it. It's all the issues that we have are self-inflicted, and we need to look inside ourselves to fix them. And if we don't, we only got ourselves to blame.
Lil Clarence Thomas, you can't speak in absolutes like that. You can't speak in absolutes like that. You can't.
Why not?
Because
why not?
All of our issues are not self-inflicted. A lot of them are. Some of them are, but not all of them.
Let's go down the line then. Let's go down the line. Incarceration. How we fix that? Stop doing crime. Stop doing crime.
No, that's very facetious. That's very facetious.
You can make money off of Instagram, off TikTok, it's so many ways to make money these days. There's so many people, there's so many jobs that are hiring. Why are we still out here selling crack? Why are we still out here selling, fentanyl? Why are we still out here doing all these crazy things, robbing people, going into stores, stealing? Why? When there's so many jobs open for anybody to take.
And listen, all of that is what you said is true as far as some of the things that we're doing, the self-inflicted wounds. But let's not act like a lot of these things were created, you know what I'm saying, to put us in the position that we in. You have white cats that that will do the same crimes that we do and get less harsh sentences. So let's be clear. That's why I give props.
But why are we doing them?
Right.
Why are we doing them? It's called tribalism.
But
if I got this water right here and you thirsty and you like, B, man, let me get that water from you. All right, bro. You know what? I was about to sell it for $3, but you know what? You my guy. You my nigga, man. I'm gonna go ahead and sell it to you for, just give me 50 cents for it. Huh? Let's just call it in. Give you 50 cents for it. And then I got Schroeder, the white guy, coming down the street, and he's like, "Hey, dude, I'm thirsty. Can I buy that water off of you?" Yeah, bro, $4.
What's
capitalism.
The difference? That's capitalism.
What's the difference? I'm just
that's
saying.
Capitalism,
what's the difference?
Though. What are you talking about?
That's also tribalism. Is that you my guy? I'm familiar with you. I'm comfortable with you. I know you. You know what I'm saying? And even if I don't know you, it's just like, yo, you know what I'm saying? You my brother. I'm gonna give it to you at a cheaper rate than somebody I would, that I would tax if I don't know them. Right. When you go through the court system, okay, these people and whatnot, they're looking at their own, and whether they say it or not, they do have that affection for their own, that tribalism for their own.
Absolutely.
When they see us, with everything that's in the news and social media, and they see us doing and whatnot.
But does that
You
make
may
it
look at
right though?
somebody.
And you just gave
It
a
doesn't.
horrible
It doesn't.
you just made a horrible analogy because you're gonna compare selling the water for 50 cents versus $4 to a person that did a crime, and because his father knows the judge, that's an unfair comparison. You know what I'm saying?
How?
Right
His
is
father
right and
knows it.
wrong is wrong. Right
Okay.
and right is wrong
Okay.
is wrong. At the end
In
of
the
the
grand
day,
scheme of things.
we all know that the way that this country was set up, you know what I'm saying? When you have marginalized people and you put them in housing projects and you stack them on top of each other, like Dick Gregory say, black people don't kill each other no more than white people. You kill where you live. And when you put disenfranchised and poor people in the same environment, they go kill each other because you're going to be the survival of the fittest.
13% killing, doing the 56% of the murders and the violent crime in America, and only
Well,
13%.
That's
Really?
one of those things I don't believe. Like, we've been 13% of the population since the 60s, bro.
Come on, man.
Like you
I'm
talking
pretty
about
sure
all the ratchets that we keep having, all these babies, and we still only
all the
13% of the
ratchets.
population. Like, I
Dude.
that's one figure they
But I mean,
always say.
but think about the ones that are being aborted. Think about that, because there's
That's
a
a fact.
1,000 abortions every single day.
That's a
Every
fact.
single day.
That's
And
a
you know
fact.
what? I think I'm gonna start bringing stats. I think I'm gonna start bringing stats to the table. So I'm gonna start being, a little bit more prepared, have stats, just so I can read them off to you. Because if you're looking out here, and I know somebody that had,
Numbers are not absolute all the time because numbers can be cooked
hey,
up. Let's be
I know
clear.
a chick right now that had 5 of them herself. That's 5 and 1. One woman.
We all know people like that. You know what I'm saying?
Come on, man. And it's a lot because we got dysfunctional culture right now. The black culture right now is trash, is dysfunctional as hell. And everything in it, it's just so ill that it's just like, man, why wouldn't anybody not believe, that these numbers are real? You know what I'm saying? When you got just such a laissez-faire type of lifestyle that's just going on, like, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Go out here, what Sukiyana said, she said, some Henny and a plan B. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, that's
when you got
crazy.
people thinking like that, when you got the mothers of these kids thinking like that,
It's sick,
you know what
bro.
I'm saying?
It's sick.
You just had Sexy Red and when I just give birth, and she just
in
pretty
the
much just,
hospital
it's
room
like
twerking.
it's like she just cocked over and shit that baby out, and now she back to doing everything I've seen from other women. Like, they have a baby, they laying in the bed, or when they trying to recover, they trying to get right. She up here twerking already,
No, that's a
talking
fact.
about she ready to get out here and be on the block again with the fellas.
Yep. And that's the only
Come
thing
on,
about my
man.
job. I hate my kids at the rec center. They be on it all the time. So I see it as a byproduct through them trying to, change the algorithm and the things that they consuming and taking in. But we gonna get up
And we
out
ain't
of
even
here,
gonna
man.
get on that part. I want to touch on that part. I want to touch where the dysfunction is coming from. I want to
Well,
talk about that, and that's gonna get real because I'm just gonna lay it all out there, and I'm not even gonna hold no bars. It's nothing. It's just I'm just putting it out there.
that's gonna be the cliffhanger for the next episode, where the dysfunction started from. What is the origins of the dysfunction?
Yeah.
Barry Bonds, any last words you want to say before we get up out of here? We just over an hour, man. It went quick.
Yeah, no doubt. I will say this is that let's try to drop the whole tribalism, because people are people. If we say, and there's another thing, contradiction, if we say that we are the first people who inhabited the earth, if we say that the first man and woman were black, then that means that all these other people are our kids. That means all these other races are our kids. If that's what we're saying, you know what I'm saying? If we're not saying that, cool, let me know.
No,
But
that's what
drop the
we've been saying.
tribalism. If all these other people are our kids, then let's try to get along. Let's try to get to know them. Let's try to, work and live side by side with them, because I know we can. Because I know a lot of us, we got white friends, we got Asian friends, we got, friends from all different nationalities, walks of life. So let's try to lean into that, be more intentional in that, just so that we can, have a better lifestyle, man. Just have a better way of life, just all of that. But stop living in the victim Olympics. Stop putting your kids in the victim Olympics because it doesn't pay. Join the Black Republicans if you want to check it out. I'm on Facebook, the Black Republicans. All right. Vote Trump 2024. And
this guy.
That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it, man.
Now I want to say this and then we go close out, man. At the end of the day, I'm the ultimate optimist, as I call myself. But one thing that I will say, and a conclusion that I have come to, I used to always have the mentality of trying to save everybody. And as I get older and get closer to 50, I just had to be real. Everybody can't be saved. Everybody can't go. Some people go get left behind. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the reality of the matter. So my motto now is help those that want to be helped. So if you have some young people that you can affect their lives in a positive manner, you know what I'm saying? Snatch them up, pull them, give them that information, give them that game, make sure they stand on top of the things that they need to, be on top of to be successful and reach their fullest potential in life. You know what I'm saying? And anybody else that don't want to get on one accord and don't want to rock with us in that manner, like the old folks
Get
say,
them
we
out of
pray,
here.
we pray for them and keep it moving, man. You know what I'm saying? We pray for them and keep it moving because at the end of the day, we are in a race and we are losing. Again, I say
We
we
are
are in a
losing
race
bad.
and we are losing. And if we ever intend on making up some ground and trying to get back in the race, because it's a blowout right now, it starts with our youth. We have to be able to get our youth on a better track and on better footing. So by the time their kids come, they can pass them the baton and they can start making up ground to get us closer to being at the front of the pack. So this is Church After
Facts.
Hours. We appreciate y'all.
Hey.
We love y'all. Yeah, go ahead.
I bet somebody gonna call me a sandball coon off this too, and
Oh,
that's
of
just
course,
so
of course.
counterproductive. And that's so counterproductive. I would love to take whoever it is to say it because it's so counterproductive to what we're trying to do. Because
Yeah.
I don't even live my life like that. You know
And
what
let
I'm
me say
saying?
this. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because, and this is another thing we have to do. I
Yeah.
love talking to people that I don't necessarily agree with because one, I learn something from them,
Yeah.
and then two,
Yeah.
if it's something that I oppose, it makes me look at why I feel the way I feel, and I have to put my thoughts under a microscope and see if it's right or if it can be updated. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
that's why I love talking to my brothers from the nation.
Yeah.
I love talking to my 5% brother. Like we should be able to go in rooms and have conversations with people that don't necessarily agree with us because it helps you to grow and it helps you to gain a certain amount of knowledge and information that you might not have had before you had that conversation. So stop doing that. That's whack for real. You know what I'm saying?
You need
That's
to
west for
test your
real.
theory. You gotta
You have
have. You
to.
gotta be able
You
to
have
test your
to. You
theory.
got to put
Whatever
it
you
under the
believe in, you have to
microscope.
have somebody to be able to test it.
Absolutely.
Just make sure that it's strong and that it stands the test of time. Because if it doesn't, then you need to start really reevaluating what it is you believe.
And the reason why a lot of people don't want to do that, and that's why, and I hate to say this, people may get upset. I'm glad we ended it like this.
No,
that's
upset them.
That's why a lot of our people get stuck in religion because they know a lot of this stuff that we've learned is not true, is not factual. But once you learn and now you have to apply it, that next step toward applying and making changes, they don't want to make that change. That's why when Reverend Pipers talked about Christmas and how it's pagan and taught us about all these things, and I tell him to this day, he's the reason why I end up going on the path because now I took the stuff that he taught me and learned that it was true. And then I started learning other stuff that he wasn't teaching. And I was like, yo, I can't rock with none of this like this for real. You know what I'm saying? So people have to stop being afraid to change because change is uncomfortable, but change helps you to grow and move forward in life. So we got to stop that nonsense.
We are our own worst enemies. Everything we need to do to be better is we can find it from within. Trust that.
I agree. A lot of times we are our own worst enemies. And we go
disagree with that a minute ago. So now you agree with me.
No.
I'm glad.
Not all the
you
time.
just disagree with me. Rewind the tape, Kurt.
No, this is the tape right here. You said we're always our own worst enemies. I said sometimes we are, not
where
all
the
the
red
time.
Flag
because you were speaking in absolutes. I don't speak in absolutes, brother.
Where's the red flag at, man? I call foul on the play.
But we gonna see y'all next episodes, man. Hopefully y'all like it. Click like, share, comment, and subscribe, and send it out to your friends and family, man. And let's continue the dialogue down in the comments. And we'll see y'all next week. Peace and blessings.
Peace.